I just want to invest in people that really want to be the best that they can be.
Hello, everyone. It's Todd Scrima and the lovely Robyn LaVassaur. We're doing a Be Your Best podcast to loan officers. So this is retail loan officers that do mortgage loans. And we kind of have fun doing this once a month. And today's topic was something that I'm very passionate about right now. And it's saving 50% of your time through proper target marketing. And let me give some context to this. And then, Robyn, I'm just going to hand it to you to kind of go off. So about 2 years ago, I said, the one skill, like I've worked on strategic planning, I've worked on understanding financials, I've worked on hedging and servicing loans, like sales process, like all these things. I never knew much about marketing. And I always lumped them together. So I would say marketing and sales. Now I look at them as two totally separate things. And I look at marketing as the attraction, like the reason that someone would contact you, or the reason that someone would say, that's interesting. Like I want to know more. And I think about sales totally separate now. Once that phone rings, or once the DM happens, or once the voicemail hits, or the text, that begins the sales process. But everything before that, I now call marketing. Well, that led me to hiring a few coaches, and they would say, they would pound me all the time the last 2 years about target marketing. And I was like, target marketing. Like, if someone's interested, they'll raise their hand. What I learned was, and I had to do this by costing myself money. So I have this online learning platform, and I said, we'll just market it to, everybody in this age group that has this type of profession. And it was very broad. So one of the first experiments I did on this stuff, I had 420,000 people watch, like literally watch the full ad, like something that I posted on Instagram. And if they were interested, they would click. And they would get more information until it led them to the sales funnel, ending up with us talking to them. Well, we did have 420,000 people watch it, and we talked to a bunch of people, and we made one sale out of about 100 hours of work. So I brought it back to my coach, and I said, what's wrong? Like, the ad's good, 420 views. He says, wrong target market. I said, yeah, but this, yeah, but that. He says, wrong target market. And I said, what do you mean? He says, if you can't specifically, tell me what they're into, what their ages are, why they would take risk, why they would reach out, what all these things. And he ran down this list of 10 questions. He says, if you can't answer all 10, you don't market to it. And I said, why not? He said, because you're wasting your time. So then I went back to my loan officer days, my first 15 years in the industry. And I target marketed everyone wrong. And so what that led me to understand, stay with me for a second. Let's say I sold 20 hours in a week, like really sales time. I'm in a presentation, I'm calling people, like real marketing and sales. At least half of that time was 100% wasted. Because if I was marketing to, say, a realtor, and that realtor closed 2 deals last 12 months, they can't send me any loans. I could take them to coffee. They're going to like me. I'm send them to the lunch and learn, but none of it does me any good whatsoever because they can't send me any business. So it dawned on me about 2 months ago that I had wasted about half of my sales time in my life, which is probably 20,000 hours, literally. And it made me feel dumb. So now I'm passionate about making sure that people don't do that again. And so, Robyn, I wonder what your spin is on this, because we haven't really spoken about this. And you're like me, you're like, if I like someone, I'm going to call on them and spend my time, not really realizing that we can't do business together.
Yeah, I think that, you and I learned from you. So to be fair, that, in context, you and I, though, have both been brought up in sales with, in a different time frame, if you will. I think you started in the early 90s. I got in 97. there were barely computers running in a way, right? Like it was, we were still faxing our locks in, right? Faxing a lock in to a company. And if you could save your transmittal summary. And so you think about where technology has gone. And then I think one of the things in business and in life in general is that you hold on to some of the things that are your basic principles, where success left clues and it says this works. And I think where people make mistakes is say, new shiny object, I'm going to go try this. And that very well could have worked, but they didn't grow that much because they let go of their basic principles. And so I just want to say out loud, Todd and I are both of the mindset of very much the most powerful tool that anybody has is a real live conversation, right? Even better when you can have eye contact, right? Whether that be via Zoom or in person. However, what Todd's talking about is how to get there, how to get somebody to pick up and answer the phone in addition to, and Todd, you've done so much work on this and so much studying on this and learning. Please correct me if I'm off base, but what you're talking about is even potentially pre-phone call or in the midst, like don't get caught up necessarily in the order, a pre-meeting, pre-belly to belly, if you're ever going to get belly to belly with somebody in any way, shape, or form, where you are actually, what's a good way to say this? You being a known quantity to them through mass marketing, having ethos potentially with who is going to take your call, offering things of value. And we sometimes think so small, right? I'll post it to my direct social media with my followers. I'll mail it to my exact database. I'll talk to, my realtors in my circle, and that's it, the people on my list type of deal. Instead of thinking like, what if I literally hit everybody, still targeted, like you said, targeted, but applicable, right? So real estate agent, if you really believe as a loan officer, you can make them more money by working with you, which is a great sales pitch, by the way, because if a realtor really believes you're on their team to put money in their pocket, they are going to work with you. That doesn't mean you're literally filling their pocket. It means you are adding value by them growing their business, by being a partner with them. As a result of that, if you can get that out to, like I'm in Oregon, why wouldn't I get that out to every real estate agent in Oregon? Most people don't go see each other directly anymore anyway. Why wouldn't I think that big instead of Eugene, Oregon, my list, hit 40 instead of hit 4,000? Is that what is that kind of where you're going with it?
Yeah, but let me give you an example.
Okay.
So, I opened up at a new coaching company. It's small. It's 10 clients a month called Jolt. And I teach loan officers how to do all this marketing, how to do all kinds of stuff, and how to come up with offers. So I'm working with a client. This is about 3 weeks ago. And he said he was a non-producing branch manager and he wanted to get back into origination because he's not making any money being a branch manager. I said, great, no problem. He says, I need to make money. Like, I want to do this fast. I said, okay, what's your avatar? Like, what's your target market? He says, well, I want to do, Summit started doing a lot of second mortgages, non-QM seconds. And it's a big market. It was about 400 billion last year, projected to be 800 billion this year. So it's massive. And it's one of the few growing markets. So I'm like, okay, bud, we have this list company. So we went to the list company. I said, hey, here was our target market. Pay attention. People have owned their homes for 5 years or more. They had no mortgage rates. Their loan to value was 60% or less. And they had at least $50,000 in credit cards.
Okay.
So the list came back. It was 90,000 people in this state. 90,000.
And who gets you the list, Todd? Because I know people get caught up, right? Like the idea sounds great, but then those details hang people up from listening to it, but then implementing it.
If you want to know the list company, you guys can reach out to me via email or text, and I'll send it to you. But there
are people that do it. It's not like okay. So there are people that provide those services that I'm assuming cost money, right? You're going to pay for it, but know that there's going to be a return value.
Yes. And so people are like, I don't want to pay for it. I'm just going to advertise seconds on the internet through a sales funnel. That's not going to work. because
Okay.
you're going to reach 400,000 people that don't need a second. So
Okay.
I went back to the list company because the loan officer was like, this is great, 90,000 people. I said, nope, it's too many. I went back to the list company. I said, just give me the top 10% of the same list, but the top 10% that were in the most debt. So they came back. The lowest person on the list had $90,000 in credit card debt. The highest person had $250,000 in credit card debt. So that now is that 10,000 person list is the target. So let me explain why that's important. There's 4 main characteristics to targeting a market. Number one, and this is one that I didn't give enough credit to. They're in great pain. They're in great pain. So we know that we can do a second on their house, and we know we can save them 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 grand a month immediately, like in 3 weeks. So they're in pain. That's the reason we just did the top 10% of that list, because they're in the most pain, which means they're most likely to take action. You don't go to the dentist most of us get our teeth cleaned, but outside of that, you don't do it unless you got a toothache.
Yep.
You don't go to the doctor just to say hi. You go to the doctor because you're throwing
You
up.
have to treat something.
Okay.
Yes.
So great pain is number one. Number two is they have to be able to afford it. So that's called purchasing power. You know, sometimes people in Joel, they're like, I want to go after low credit score people. I'm like, no. Like, people have bad credit historically continue to have bad credit. That's not, they can't afford a mortgage. They can't get a mortgage. So they got to be able to afford the product or service. Number three, they've got to be easy to target. You have to be able to identify them exactly. And if you cannot, whatever you do will not work. Okay. So give it another example. The seconds was one example of target marketing. I have another client in Joel that speaks Spanish, and he's in Texas.
Yep.
I said, bud, have you ever done, Summit does a lot of non-QM loans. So I said, we're going to do I-10 loans. He says, well, I've only done one. I said, well, you're going to become the I-10 king. And our target market is any 500 Spanish-speaking realtors that close 6 or more buy-sides in the last 12 months, because they come across those people every week. So that's a very exact target market.
Yep.
Spanish-speaking buyers agents in Texas that close 6 or more buy-sides. Okay? They got to be easy to target. And then the fourth thing is the market has to be growing. The segment has to be growing. So I could go after conventional cash outs, but they've gone down, 99%. So it's not a growing market. You could get some, but to do a whole marketing campaign, probably not great, right? Second, people do seconds because they don't want to give up the 3% first. So they don't, like a normal cash out environment, that's not growing. So I wouldn't focus on it. So pain, purchasing power, easy to target, and growing. If you got all four, you're in the money. If you violate one of those rules, no go. It's not going to work. Believe me, I've tried it about 18 times. Literally. So my point is, how does this translate to a loan officer?
Yeah,
if you just understand the idea that, hey, I'm going to go out, let's say you're going to go after 100 agents, say that's the target market. Well, go after the ones that are buyer's agents that maybe close 4 or more buy sides, or 6 or more buy sides, or 8 or more buy sides, because they can really send you business. If you're going to go after home builders, same thing. They research. Now, the problem is it takes some time to do that. What we do in Jolt is we found a company overseas that will do all this research for us for cheap. I'm talking like I create 500-person databases that are super, super targeted. $500. I just did one last week, $220. Like, these people work for $1 an hour. It's cheap. So does it take 60, 70, 80 hours of research? Yes. We just do it overseas so that we keep the cost down. Because for us to do that in America, it would cost 10 grand.
Yeah.
And people won't have 10 grand.
Yeah. 100%. So that I want to tie all this in because I think like an originator, and Todd, you're such a visionary, you're a builder, and nothing scares you because you're very much a, hey, if there's a process to it, I'm going to get there, right? And I think that, I mean, you and I were on a sales call a few weeks or a month ago with all of our crew, and I was like, hey, did everybody just do the mass texting to their own database? And you saw the response, right? The emotional response where people just get in their own head. They get in their own way. And what I would tell you guys is that loans, better known is always going to beat better. Better known is always going to beat better. And if you can offer something of value in, target marketing, the way that Todd is talking, that's relevant to somebody's need. What you're really doing is a go-giver type of mentality, right? You're finding needs. You're already aware they basically have the need, and you're going to fill that need, but you're going to get it out to so many more people instead of spending an 8-hour day and having 2 conversations about what you do and how you add value to somebody, right? All of a sudden you have an opportunity to, let's say that they sent it out to a target list, Todd, and just statistically, no matter kind of how you twist it, something gets sent out, and text message, is that kind of the basic, or also online marketing ads that are going? Is that something, do they all coincide?
They all coincide. So in Jolt, we teach them how to do 8 things, contact people 8 different ways all the time, every week.
Okay. So then people freak out and go, I don't want to be a salesperson. You're a service person, right? You're providing they're going to go find somebody to solve this problem at some point. Why wouldn't you put your hat in the ring, right? Why wouldn't you be the one that they then connect to, because you've reached them in every different way, and they're like, oh, they clearly want to help me, right? Like that's a piece to it. So it goes out, they get it. What's the typical, let's call it 1,000 people that's targeted. What do you think the close ratio truly, like if you just had to guess on all your research that you've been doing right now and what you have in proof of concept, what do you think that adds to, let's go revenue annually to a loan officer if they really started to, let's say that they ran 4 campaigns a year even. I'm just throwing out, a couple scenarios.
Sure. I'll give you an example for this. And my point is, seconds is just an example, but for this gentleman that's going to do the seconds over the course of a year, he'll close 500 seconds out of 10,000 people.
500 seconds out of 10,000 people.
In his average, the way we do those seconds, you get full commission. The average loan amount's $200,000. So that's $2,000 per loan. Doesn't sound like a lot, but 500 is $1 million.
Got it.
To the loan officer.
And in that scenario, you wouldn't want to target market an area where first mortgages averaged 200,000, right? You wouldn't want to target that area because the second mortgage is so low. Does that make sense? Like,
that was part of, I didn't mention that, but that's part of the target market is how much is their first mortgage. And I think we set a minimum at 400,000. Okay.
But that goes into what you were talking about, right? The purchasing power, that like, does it all coincide? Does it check the boxes? Here's what I would say. Like, if you're interested in learning about Jolt, if you're interested in really enhancing your business, adding another, I always call it a leg, a leg to the chair, right? Like if you can put another leg in a chair, your business gets sturdier. It's not that you wouldn't focus on the other 3, but man, if you could add this on, what would that actually do to your income and your revenue? And it is becoming the new way, right? It's only going to continue to increase. You might as well get on the train early.
This may sound a little bold, but I think we all get that the world is changing. 30 years ago, if I wanted a restaurant recommendation and I was in from out of town, I would ask the front desk person at the hotel or the concierge. Now we all use OpenTable. People use Snapchat to find restaurants. They use Yelp. Things are changing.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about this, when you look at the mortgage industry and how it relates to that, this will be how loans are done. Okay. It doesn't. Now, when I say that, that does not mean to diminish relationships. That's what people hear. You're just trying to attract the beginning of the relationship.
Yes.
That's how it happens.
Yes.
So, it's like, I always make fun of this, but it's like online dating. And people are like, what's the attractor? They're like, the picture. that person's good looking, and that's the kind of person I want to date. So they swipe, right? Loan officers and mortgage companies don't do any of that. And they're like, well, no one's swiping. I'm slow. Well, there's 50,000 home loans closed last month. So why aren't they swiping on you?
Yes.
The answer is you're not adding any value that they care about. And that's a whole nother discussion, is how to add value. But this podcast is about target marketing. And what it occurred to me is that I have wasted at least half of my life targeting people that either I don't want to work with, they're not someone who can produce the results I want. And if you think about that, if I just changed my target marketing and got really good at it, I would, if I'm right, you would double your sales effectiveness. That's the lesson.
Yeah.
That's one of the first things that I had to learn. And it's very eye-opening. It's embarrassing. Like for me, I feel embarrassed talking about it, because I'm like, so if you guys, Joel has a waiting list of people because I only accept 10 clients a month. But if you do want to, it's 4 months. It's a 4-month training program. If you want information on it, text me and I'll send you a video to watch. And then you can say, hey, put me on the wait list or whatever. People think I'm crazy giving out my cell phone, but it actually works because the people that do contact me are interested.
It's called low barrier entry. It's something that people very much miss in sales, right? Low barrier entry.
So if you want a video on it, I think it's 5 minutes long. Text me and I'll send it to you. It's 916-769-9031. And it's part of our mission to help loan officers get another 5 deals a month. When you get 5 more deals in this market, you're going to be doing 10 more deals a month using this stuff in a decent market. So it's all part of change management. You got to learn new skills. And this is the skill I'm convinced that loan officers miss. I missed it. I scaled 2 national companies, didn't know any of this stuff. So,
well, and if I added to that, I think about this as a loan officer, and I just a little bit of a testimony, if you will, to Todd. Years ago, I sat at a restaurant with Todd, and he looked at me and said, "Oh, you're just like you're doing it wrong. I'm going to show you how to do it right." And at that time, it was really about delegation and leveraging red time to other people, right? And then doing more green time, following a calendar, really putting process and system into what is a very entrepreneurial position as a commissioned salesperson. That in itself completely changed my life, right? Financially, helping people, all of those things. Imagine you guys, you being able to drive and control. Too many leads is always the problem we're searching for, right? Everybody wants too many leads. Then you can build a business that you want, right? It's like restaurants. I ate in an Italian restaurant the other night, Todd, and they literally it's a small restaurant. They do 2 reservations a night. They allot about 2 hours a table, so you're not rushed. They close at a very specific time, and it is almost impossible to get on the list. It's like, so demand, right? They run the exact business that they want and how they want to run it. And I was like, man, and it was good food and all of those things, but there's something about the way that they have controlled that environment. Imagine if you're a loan officer and you have too many leads and you surf through, and then not only that, but you take all of that you are now generating, and you go give it out to your business partners, your referral partners, I was doing an equation the other day. I referred 78 deals in 1 year to my insurance agent. In 1 year, he had 78 clients sign up to use his insurance because I advocated for him. If you as a loan officer can give that to your referral partners because you've learned a new skill that people have not expanded on themselves, and you can feed the amount, like everybody's worked with an agent they don't want to work with. Everybody's had a referral partner that's actually more trouble than what it's worth. Imagine then being able to control. You hold the cards, right? And it's reverse engineering in so many ways. And I think a mistake in 2023 was people sat around and hoped somebody else would feed them. And what you're teaching them is how to go out and get food themselves.
Yes, 100%.
So,
guys, I'm telling you right now, I'm sorry, I know I sound pretty direct on this stuff, but this is the Shangri-La. You learn how to add more value to people, contact lots of people. You will have people just calling you. Doesn't mean you don't have to make any sales calls. Don't hear that. but you will attract people to you. You become the supermodel on the dating app, and people are like, I need to meet that person. And that's how it works. So it takes a little bit of time, but none of it's rocket science, but most of it's changing how we think. So anyway, I hope you guys appreciated that. It's a really good discussion on how to target market and how critical that is. It is absolutely one of the major benchmarks of what separates companies and salespeople. So I hope you guys appreciated it. If you want that video, text me. I'm happy to send it to you. Robyn, thank you as always.
Thank
Have
you.
a beautiful month, guys.